Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing the apps system. I haven't gotten to talk about this in some time. Apps is one of these things that it's kind of part of the underbelly, if you will, or sort of the undercarriage, the internal gears, if you will, of the Thai immigration system. Frankly, I'd like to talk about this stuff more often, but folks seem to kind of find it kind of boring, it looks like, from the responses we see in the videos. And it is, in a sense, I deal with immigration all the time, so I find very mundane things kind of interesting. The app system is just one of those things I find interesting. It's relatively new, and it's extremely efficient. I have seen the app system in practice, and it really does what it's billed to do. Let's put it that way. So a recent article from the Bangkok Post, it's bangkokpost.com, article is titled, Passenger Processing System to Check Arrivals Health Info. Quoting directly, the Advanced Passenger Processing System, APPS, is being upgraded to check incoming air passengers for their health documentation ahead of their arrival as the country is set to reopen to international tourism starting next month, according to the Airports of Thailand, AOT. AOT President Nitinai Sirismatakan told when it's transliterated into English, I have kind of a hard time sounding it out in the English side, told a Thai program on Tuesday a similar system has been in place to single out people with criminal records as a means of heightening border security. Yeah, that's definitely true. We've done videos on that, and the app system, as we've discussed in other videos, if you're flagged in the app system for prior criminal activity, either inside of Thailand or elsewhere, you might not even be able to board the flight to get into Thailand. We've seen that happen, especially with connecting flights, places like Hong Kong, places not even with connecting flights, like direct flights to Singapore. We've dealt with clients who were unable to get on a plane. In some cases, it could be rectified. In some cases, it couldn't. Quoting further again from this Bangkok Post article titled, Passenger Processing System to Check Arrivals Health Info, quoting directly, the apps allows customs officials, airport and airline staff, and immigration police to obtain the profiles of passengers from their countries of origin. They are able to check if passengers are blacklisted or banned from leaving a country. Yeah, again, it really is quite an efficient system. And when you've seen it in practice, you really see it basically nips it in the bud, for lack of a better term, from the standpoint of Thai immigration, because oftentimes they just notify the airport where the intending person that's looking to arrive in Thailand is coming from, and that person oftentimes doesn't even leave that airport. Quoting further, now the system is being used to run checks on incoming passengers for their health certification and whether they meet vaccination requirements. Quoting further, the apps meets global standards in its capability to verify the authenticity of vaccination certificates. Quoting further, Mr. Nitinai said the system will ramp up the health screening of international arrivals and reinforce its safeguards against the spread of COVID-19 as the country gradually reopens its borders and restores tourism. Lot going on in that article. I urge those watching this video, go read it in full if you're interested in this topic. There's more detail in there. Long story short, yeah, it looks like they're going to start using apps as effectively the processing system, if you will, for a lot of these so-called vaccination certificates, sometimes referred to as vaccination passports. Again, not to be confused with what's being called in some places like a COVID pass, a green pass, a passport, if you will, to go out to a restaurant in your locality. It's not to be confused with that. What we're talking about here is vaccination documentation in an international travel context, not in a local context. So a bit of a difference when we're, well, not a bit, it's a chasm of a difference. As folks who watch this channel, I have major issues with respect to quote-unquote COVID passports in the context of living one's daily life within one's country. However, vaccination documentation associated with international travel, I think reasonable people can strongly disagree with one another on whether or not it's needed in these circumstances. Leaving that aside, there's been vaccination documentation associated with travel, most notably malaria and yellow fever to certain countries, including Thailand in the past, which were just required in order to come to Thailand. And, you know, to my mind, it was not unforeseeable that this could come about again and be digitized, as apparently it's being digitized with respect to documentation and the app system. So something to look out for, something to think about when we're dealing with travel to Thailand in the relatively near future.